So, you decided to make a live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch. I'll give Disney that this is quite a brave move they're doing. They are taking one of their most iconic franchises of the 21st century, something that's been highly beloved by millions of fans for over 2 decades, and turn it into another piece of their collection that the internet has grown such a passionate hatred for that they can hardly control themselves when the subject is brought up. Not to mention that this one came out soon after the Snow White remake, which became a lot more trouble than it was worth. Seriously, as much as some are so desperate to blame Rachel Zegler for the crime of not being white and submissive, how could this movie have any chance of success when the dwarves look more like aliens than Stitch? So with the anger towards the Disney remake still being fresh, that's why I say that it's quite brave of them to do Lilo and Stitch next. Think about it, Stitch is one of Disney's biggest IPs today. I'd even say that the alien is almost as popular as Mickey Mouse. And from there, I know there are many people who love the original movie, not just calling it one of their favorite Disney films, but also have Stitch be a big part of their lives. So imagine the big risk that Disney is taking by taking something that people love on such a personal level and using that to create something that some people either dislike or full-on rage over. This could cause some powerful emotions to be unleashed, depending on how this is handled, especially with Stitch being so loved and so popular. Then again, that is the reason why we have this remake in the first place. Let's face it, as controversial as this move may be, it's inevitable that Lilo and Stitch would get the remake treatment, especially when it's not only one of their biggest icons, but it's also the movie that kept Disney animation alive when it needed it. You see, like Encanto during the 2020 decade, Lilo and Stitch was the phenomenon that helped keep the studio afloat in a time when their movies like Atlantis and Treasure Planet kept failing at the box office and struggled to find their audience. And since then, the aliens' chaos kept on going through sequels, TV shows, rides, and an endless supply of merchandise. It's next to impossible nowadays to go anywhere that has a Disney section and not find the Blue Experiment causing mischief. And because of that, it was only a matter of time that Disney decided that his shenanigans was worth giving him his own live-action adaptation to further strengthen his galactic empire.
What the hell?
But before we get into this remake, I'll give you a recap on my thoughts on the original so that you know where I'm coming from with this. Of course, I think the 2002 film is a solid feature. The animation is gorgeous, the characters have a relatable charm, and it's powerfully heartfelt with its theme of family. However, I'll confess that I'm not as crazy for it as some people are. And I also have my fair share of criticisms, like the comedy and the alien elements are cute at best, but they feel weak compared to the stronger parts. Again, it's a very good movie, but not one of my favorites. As for this remake, while I'm not hyped up for this, I'm not dreading this one either. I mean, it's not like last time where it had controversy with its casting related to some of the actors' race, or someone making like terrible comments like, "Oh, for crying out loud! Can we just get into this remake before I smack this remake like it's Myrtle?" The first thing I want to address so that I can have this out of the way is to answer the big question, how much of this is like the original? Well, quite a lot. Maybe not a 100% copy or even close to the 2019 Lion King remake, but I'd say about 80% of this is the same as the animated film. This is especially the case with the story, as that remains the same about two sisters who only have each other, with the younger one adopting a dog who turns out to be an alien to cause total destruction that she named Stitch, and they have to do whatever it takes to stay together as a family so that neither the social workers or other aliens separate them.
He's so cute and fluffy.
He is your responsibility. Got it.
We promise.
Yeah.
The reason why I bring this up now is because I know that, for many, this is the film's make or break deal. On one hand, there are some that will see this as a detriment. The fact that it's telling the same story with not many significant changes will make its creative existence more questionable. Wondering what's the point of watching this movie when you could get a better experience seeing the animated film, especially when the original offers much stronger artistry. Then again, there are others who are happy to hear about that because that's what they asked for. It's part of the reason why these live-action remakes have been so successful and still are today. They want to relive the nostalgia of what they loved for many years, seeing the same movie, but now with a new flavor of live action. As if their favorite cartoons are coming to life that was once thought only possible at the Disney parks. And with Lilo and Stitch, they'll get what they wish for with that same familiarity, but also offering new kinds of trouble that Stitch gets into.
No. Control him. Hey, what are you doing?
As for me, this is a factor that I feel like it weakens the experience because it takes away the visual strength of the original. Now, I know that this is a criticism that you could say about all these live-action remakes, but this one in particular is especially the case. You see, the original Lilo and Stitch is one of the rare Disney animated features that doesn't have the traditional Disney style. Instead, it used the designs of director and writer Chris Sanders to provide a more rounded look that resulted in a charmingly creative style that worked well on the people and the aliens, along with the beautiful watercolor backgrounds to present modern-day kawaii like a classic cartoon. It's a big part of Lilo and Stitch's unique identity, and the absence of it is greatly noticeable in the live-action remake. Sure, the sets look great as they are to show a local area of Hawaii that's close to where the tourists go, but as an animation fan, it's just not the same without the animator's craftsmanship.
Ugh, why do I have to be at your work? I'm sick.
Because someone got kicked out of hula.
But this is not to say that there were no artists who worked on this remake. Well, other than the filmmakers, of course. It's just that instead of the use of hand-drawn animation, this one uses computer graphics to bring the aliens like Stitch to life. Now, usually with these live-action remakes, the CG is the worst part where they turn classic characters into, realistic monstrosities. But here's the catch with this one. The key word to what I just said is usually. Lilo and Stitch is kind of the exception here. I'd even dare say that the CG here is kind of good.
You sure that's it though?
Yeah.
Rough. Oh.
Yes, believe it or not, I think the movie CG is fine. This is not to say that it's mind-blowing, but by the standards of the live-action remakes, I consider this as some of the best since 2016's The Jungle Book. Not to mention how this feels like a breath of fresh air when the last remake made us endure Snow White and the 7 sleep paralysis demons. And what's shocking is that the movie found a way to bring the Chris Sanders alien designs into 3D that still stays true to the look of the original. But what I find to be the most impressive is how the character animation gives them full of life. Instead of putting all of its efforts on making them as realistic as possible, it acknowledges that these are animated characters and decided not to let go of that trait from them, resulting in their energy to come out stronger and their personalities to be more recognizable beyond the voice acting. This was best used on Stitch himself so that the cartoon-style mischief he gets into is more effective and feel more fun to watch.
We are not keeping this.
Sure, the one compromise is that the aliens were given an extra layer of texture so that they don't look too out of place in the live-action world, and there are some where they could be a bit much, but even with that, the remake did well to bring all the animated aliens into live action. Okay, maybe not all of them. If I do have to bring up exceptions, it would have to be Jumba and Pleakley. While their character animation is still great and lively, their transition into live action did not go well. This is where the textures went overboard and made them look more like a mess. Pleakley's giant eye and gooey skin is now unsettling, and I seriously did not need to know that Jumba's nose was circumcised. And yes, I am aware about the controversy of mostly portraying them as humans instead of having them wear disguises, especially with Pleakley not having a chance to become a drag icon, much to the dismay of even the director of this remake.
I have had people message me, why is Pleakley not wearing the dress? And I just want to say, I tried.
But to be honest, I'm personally okay with making them mostly human, mainly because it means we spend less time staring at these monstrosities. Maybe it's not the best option, but I'm grateful that this movie is willing to spare our eyeballs. Also, let's be real with Pleakley here, there are no wigs or dresses that could glow this thing up. This canvas is a lost cause. And on that note, I want to add that these two are not just the weakest in terms of their visuals, but I feel like they're the weakest characters in general. Sure, they're not the strongest parts of the original either, but they do make up for it with their fun personalities and great performances from David Ogden Stiers and Kevin McDonald. Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnuson, on the other hand, didn't feel like they captured that same charisma and are not as strong as a duo, since their comedy isn't very good. I'm not saying that their acting was terrible, they did the most they could. It's just that for a remake that puts in more effort to stay true to the original, I feel like they were both miscast and their performances are not the kind that could capture the spirit of Stiers and McDonald in order to have that familiarity that they are Jumba and Pleakley.
There's no instruments. There's nothing here.
And are you enjoying the hotel?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I mean,
I'm obviously being sarcastic.
That was pretty much to say that they both are the weaker parts of the film and the only ones who didn't get right with either their visuals or their casting. And when it comes to the latter, while those two missed their mark, the others nailed their characters perfectly. If I'd have to point to what I think is the best part about this remake, it's most of the actors, not only capturing the familiarity of their respective characters, but also showing what made them beloved by fans. If there are problems with them, it's more due to its writing than the acting, which is the case with Cobra Bubbles. Courtney B. Vance was awesome as him, but I wasn't a fan with how the film transformed Bubbles into a cartoon-style hunter, being a full-on CIA agent trying hard to capture Stitch and proving the existence of aliens, while the real social working job was handed to Tia Carrere, aka the OG Nani from the animated film. On the flip side, of course, you gotta have Chris Sanders himself come back to bring out that signature chaos of Stitch. Although I do suspect that it might have recycled some of his recordings from the animated film. There were some parts that I thought sounded a little too familiar. But the true highlights are the people around him. This is especially the case with Maya Kealoha. She is perfect as Lilo, capturing the troublemaking and imaginative side that makes her the problem of the town, while also showing her vulnerability by having a rough time with living without her parents, as the only family she has left to help take care of her is her sister. She nailed Lilo's personality with the right mixture of rebelling against the rules and the need of being loved, which makes her the perfect companion for Stitch.
Stitch bad.
Sometimes family isn't perfect. That doesn't mean they aren't good.
As for Nani, I've heard arguments that she's more aggressive than she was in the original, but even if that's an issue, they can debatably be understandable with the kind of situation she's in with her life. And at worst, I find it minor compared to the movie's other problems. That and Sydney Agudan's performance is strong enough to have her feel like Nani with her struggle of trying to be Lilo's guardian and sister at the same time.
Stay here.
So boring here.
And no dogs on the table.
Why not?
Because people eat off them.
There's also a new character in this that I really liked named Tutu, Lilo and Nani's neighbor and David's grandmother, which on a side note, His role may be shortened here, but David did pull off what he had to do. Anyways, Tutu acts like a helper to take care of Lilo and look out for Nani in her time of need. And thanks to Amy Hill's performance by delivering a good amount of sass, she provided many of the movie's funniest moments.
What is that? A dog, I think. Looks like some kind of baby bear that come out of the trash.
I like him. Come here, boy.
And with these great actors, they brought in one of the most important components of the original, the heart. On that note, I also want to add that the remake got the right director with Dean Fleischer Camp. He knows how to create heartfelt moments when blending animation with live action, as proven with his Oscar-nominated feature, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. With the combined work of Camp and the actors, they all captured those touching moments to make the relationship between Lilo and Nani and Lilo and Stitch feel genuine. And from there, it is able to stay true to the original's theme of Ohana. How the biggest goal for the main characters is to make sure that no one gets left behind, and to cure their loneliness by sticking together, no matter how dysfunctional they may be. And by taking importance on the value of family, it is able to recreate an important element that made the original a beloved picture.
I like you as a mom, too.
As I said before, for better or worse, a lot of the movie is the same as the original. And, to its credit, there are things that it was able to get right, like the heart and many of the characters. But there is one thing that is noticeably different from the animated film. One that you may think wouldn't matter much, but it gradually turned out to have a severe change to the outcome of the picture. It's crazy because with all the recognizable characters featured, along with a few new ones, they did not bring back Gantu.
I am retiring you, Captain Gantu.
At first, it may seem like an easy workaround to remake Lilo and Stitch without Captain Gantu, and for the most part, it is doable, but the biggest consequence is that it heavily alters the climax of the picture. Now, I'm going to be going into some major spoilers, so if you don't want to hear about them, then skip to here and you'll be fine. Now, for those who know or want to know what happened, without Gantu being the final big conflict of the movie, that role had to be given to Jumba, altering his character to be the straight-up villain of the picture. Instead of having a change of heart when learning how Stitch is more than a force of destruction, he sticks to being the kind of evil that views kindness and empathy as a weakness. And instead of having a high-flying epic chase scene to rescue Lilo, the climax received a significant downgrade where it's just escaping Jumba's ship from within, followed by the cliched cop-out of Stitch sacrificing himself to save Lilo, making everyone sad thinking that he's dead, only for him to come back. Honestly, that whole change with Jumba's villainy, less exciting action, and a tiresome sad moment did feel like the movie ended on a more disappointing note and caused it to lower my score of the film. That, and I can already tell that the outcome of who will ultimately be taking care of Lilo, since that became more complex than in the original where she just got to stay with Nani, is causing debates if that ruins the integrity of what Lilo and Stitch is all about. Either way, the remake was doing pretty well throughout, but once Jumba comes in to capture Stitch in his own reckless way, it leaves the movie to finish in the same state as Lilo and Nani's home and becomes a wreck.
You don't know what you're doing! She needs me!
Is this what she needs?
I think it comes to no surprise to say that, of course, it's not as good as the original. And yes, I would rather watch the animated film over this one. However, at the risk of upsetting some people for not fully hating this live-action remake, I cannot say that this one is bad. It may have its problems and changes that made it weaker. Well, sorry to say this, folks, but I think the live-action Lilo and Stitch remake is actually pretty decent. I know that there is a group of people out there who want me to angrily rant about this movie just over the fact that it's another live-action remake, while also exploding in rage by saying blah blah blah, animation is cinema, blah blah blah, indie animation is somehow the future of the industry. But I can't do that because 1, that's embarrassingly cringe, And 2, I think this remake is not bad. I'd even say that this is one of Disney's better live-action remakes. Is it a great movie on its own? Not really. It's extremely similar to the original, where some could say it's to a fault, and most of the changes, especially to the climax, gave the picture a downgrade. However, despite those problems, the 2025 Lilo and Stitch remake is kinda well made. The acting is fantastic, some of the animation is good, the directing is solid, and it still has that great heart to deliver the message of what Ohana is all about. It may not be as good as the 2002 film, but the quality of this one is closer to the original compared to most of these live-action remakes. However, it's worth noting that this will not change anyone's minds about those remakes or how they may feel about this one. For those who hate live-action remakes with a passion and have low expectations of this, I recommend to avoid it. But if you want to see a remake of Lilo and Stitch and see all the new kinds of shenanigans that Stitch gets into, then you'll be happy with your experience. And if you're happy with your experience with this review, then give this a like and subscribe to my channel. You can also join my Patreon so that you can be a part of my Ohana and help make more fun videos that I have in store. As for my rating, it did fluctuate and took a bit of a drop by the end, but overall, I'm gonna go with a 6.7 out of 10. You know, like 2 out of 3 stars. In a way, this remake is a lot like how the main characters are as a family. It's not a big movie, and there are parts that are broken,
but still good. Yeah, still good.
What can I say? I can't deny that it has some of the same charm as the animated movie. Besides, as a live-action remake, this could have easily been so much worse.
Ah!